7:33. The woman accused of keeping her stepson captive for more than 20 years in Waterbury is out of jail. Kimberly Sullivain was arrested Wednesday and faces multiple charges. Police say the man was starved and experienced other forms of abuse. They say he told them he set a fire in their home last month so he could finally be free. Sullivain says she is innocent. She will face a judge on March 26th. Joining me this morning to talk about all of this, it is certainly a unique case, the legal end of it, so many questions here. Attorney Ray Hassett, thank you for being here.
My pleasure, Keith.
You and I spoke on the phone yesterday, went through this court paperwork together. The details here are out of a horror movie. I should say that they are allegations, but when you read through this, what was your gut reaction?
So my gut reaction was the details are horrific. It's an 11-page warrant. I think there may be some additional investigation that needs to be done, and we can talk a little bit about that. But I think for the most part, you don't see these types of cases in Connecticut involving younger people, children or young adults. You see it more with older people, and in particular when family members take advantage of seniors. So in this particular case, it's really bad. Let's talk about the charges for a minute. The charges are 5 different charges. They totality of the charges is about 50 years of exposure. That would send this defendant to jail, theoretically, if she was convicted of all of them, for the rest of her natural life. And she'd be put in a 6-by-8 cell, which is a little bit larger than the room in which this victim has alleged to have been held in for the past 20 years. As a result, we look at the charges, and the charges are kidnapping, cruelty to persons, and assault. And I can go through those with you, and basically they all fit the charges or the facts rather, as they've been alleged.
I don't want to be too disturbing over breakfast, but the allegations here as to when and if he was able to go to the bathroom. He says he was always hungry. There's so much to this. Mental capacity, you say, is going to be a conversation both involving the man involved here and his stepmother.
Sure. From a defense perspective, I think that one of the things we're going to look at is, did the victim have the mental capacity to make the representations and the allegations that he's made? We know that in the police report there's a little bit of a history of him when he's younger, so there's a suggestion there that he may have some mental health issues. Although I think he presented to both the fire department and the police department in a very coherent manner, so that question needs to be decided by some experts. But more importantly, I think the defendant, Keith, what would cause or create a person to do something like this from a young child from age 11 for 20 years. Of course, then we get into what's the motive. The motive could be that she was looking for financial gain. Potentially, she was married to we believe the husband, her husband rather, was the father of the victim. Did he leave money to the child? Was she controlling the money? Was she getting benefits from the state or from the federal government? So it could be for financial reasons that she did this. That's something that needs to be investigated, I believe, a little bit further.
We know the biological dad. Last year, we also learned that this individual may have had siblings. What is the stepmother's defense as you see it?
Well, I'm not sure what her defense necessarily is going to be, other than it didn't happen, which is what her defense attorney has said, and that factually it's inaccurate. There is also the possibility that she may suffer from some mental incapacity herself, so that's something that the courts and her defense team will have to evaluate.
DCF once again in the spotlight. We learned through this. I listened to an interview with this man's elementary school principal who said at 5 years old we knew there was a problem. In 5th grade we knew there was a problem. The principal says, I called DCF. Here we are 20 years later. Are records kept? Is there liability for DCF? What happens on that front?
So from the statement that DCF made yesterday, they've indicated that their records don't exist anymore, and that's because allegations that were made involving this child were not substantiated, so they've eliminated, or by virtue of their policy, they've basically destroyed old records. That's not uncommon. It's a bit unusual that so many people were triggered back 20 years ago and provided information to DCF, and there wasn't an additional or a continual DCF investigation. Also, the educational system, he was pulled out of school. There's a little bit of a glitch in the law regarding, and especially 20 years ago, whether you had to report if you were homeschooling or you transferred to another school. So I think that the legislature is going to have to pick up on that and do some investigation themselves to determine whether we can restrict this in the future by having more regulation and more following through on people that transfer schools, especially young people that are in distress.
We are just starting to learn details behind this case. It is going to continue to unfold. We appreciate your insight this morning and hope you'll come back as we learn more.